Happy Tuesday, first grade friends. Hope you all had a great night of sleep and are ready to start another new and fabulous day with great weather. And I hope maybe you have something fun and challenging and new planned for today. Or maybe you're just hanging around at your house. That's okay too. Whatever you do, I hope you have a great attitude. I hope you're remembering your good manners and that you're remembering to thank all of those people who are doing special things for you to make this kind of weird time in the world a little bit more special for you. For our reading and writing today, we're going to start with our story. So make sure you have your Unit 6 Grace Reader. And our story for today is called The Storm. And it is found on page 26. And today we're going to be reading the story, The Storm. And it's about Grace and her sister and how they kind of help each other out during a storm. I know when I was a little kid, storms sometimes scared me. Even though they might have been outside and I was all snug and warm inside my house, they were oftentimes so loud and they could be so scary. And you're going to find out in our story today about how one of our sisters was scared of the storm and what the other sister did to help her not be so afraid. So some of you might say, oh, I think storms are cool. I love when there's a thunderstorm outside. And some of you might be like, no, I don't like storms. They scare me. But we're just going to read about a storm today. We're not going to experience a storm. And our storm story is found on page 26 with a picture on 27. And then the story finishes on page 28 with a picture on page 29. Again, we're looking for some of those N words spelled especially with that KN, that special sound. So in our story, make sure you're looking for the word knees, knock, and kneeling. And be looking for some of those words that make the sound like winces, place, and voice. So be looking for those as you read our story today, The Storm. Remember, try to read as much of it as you can all by yourself, but whatever help you need from an adult, that is okay. Maybe you can read the story and then an adult can read the story, or you can take turns, or you can read it together. Maybe if you have a younger brother or sister, they can join in and read it with you as well. When you finish reading the story, The Storm, you're going to take your Kitty Cat workbook and turn to page 12.1. And here you see our questions for the storm. And again, we're really working on answering our questions with complete sentences, using our best handwriting, starting our sentence with a capital letter, and ending it with an ending punctuation mark. You have questions 1 and 2 on the first page, and then questions 3 and 4 on the back page. Remember, if you'd like to challenge yourself, you can put the page number down on which you find the answer. When you finish reading your story, The Storm, today, and answering your questions, the only other work that we're doing today, 2 other things. First, we're going to make sure that you are continuing to practice. Oh, let me turn my words around the right way. Practice our spelling words this week. Maps, mice, hammer, trimmed, skipped, scrub, space, and could. We want to make sure you're practicing those words that are have the M sound in them, spelled with 1 M or 2 M's, and then our words that have the consonant clusters, and then of course our tricky word could. So remember, you can practice these spelling words any way that you want. You can say them out loud, you can write them down with special colors, you can use all kinds of materials, maybe spell them with pieces of cereal, make the letters. However you want to practice your spelling words, just make sure you get in a little bit of practice with your spelling words for this week. After you practice your spelling words, I also want you to make sure that you're doing some practice with some tricky words. Now, you should have in your bin, your black bin that I sent home with you last week, there should be a paper in there that has first grade tricky words, and then there's another paper that has a lot more tricky words on it. If you have those papers, use those papers, but if not, I've written down some tricky words here that you can practice. Again, you can practice writing them, you can practice reading them, you can practice using these words in a sentence, but make sure that you're practicing these tricky words. Remember, we call them tricky words because they don't follow our phonics rules of sounding them out. They have some tricky parts to them. So we really just have to memorize how do we say them when we are reading them, and how do we spell them, because some of them have some tricky letters in there. So once you read your story, The Storm, and answer your questions, remember to practice this week's spelling words, and then also find your list of tricky words, or you can use this list of tricky words and practice reading, writing, or using those in a sentence. I know you're going to do a fabulous job on today's reading and writing lesson, so go ahead and get to it, and I'll see you next time.